Well, that's a lot of stuff. The easiest way to defeat the Flesh is to have at least 2 good dot damage dealers. I think a Houndmaster is required, and a Plague Doctor is also a solid second choice for this fight. Possibly a Jester or a Hellion could also be beneficial because of their heavy dot damage and raw damage. If you want to go all out, you could have 2 Houndmasters, but I believe they may be a little squishy on some attacks, and also bleed resistance is higher than Blight. Let's go over each segment of the body of the Flesh so you can better understand how the fight will go. The body will change every turn, and sometimes it can change for the worst. You have the head, which does the most physical damage, bleed chance, and has a high protection. Its main ability is Mauls of Life, and it hits the front 2 rows hard, and like I said, there is a bleed chance associated with that. We then reach the bone portion. This stuns and does a small amount of damage, high bleed resistance, and its protection is 90%. This is why we dot damage. Its attack is Bone Zephyr, and as I said, it's weak, but it can stun, and if it hits a dot damage dealer, that's a lot of damage per turn that's going to be gone. The heart is the weakest, and it does not attack, but in champion or the 3rd level, it heals 6 to 12. The heart has 0 protection, and it should be hammered with a direct attack when given the chance. Sanguine Stroke is the ability that heals the Flesh overall. Finally, we get to the butt. The butt can give some serious damage and will also do blight damage. The attack is called Undulating Invasion. It hits the back row and can really hurt squishier party members because the physical damage on it is actually rather high, and it adds blight. Its protection is only 50%, which is still very high but lower than the others. This fight is an odd flavor of quick dot damage and hoping a heart appears in every shift. This fight has a lot of RNG depending on the parts you get and how many targets each part does. Since each segment counts as an individual monster, the Houndmaster's Hound's Harry ability is the key to success. If you want to ensure more bleed chances, put on a trinket that increases bleed chance. If you manage to get a plus 20% trinket to bleed chance, or at least more, you should have about a 75% chance of getting bleed on all segments. The highest level of Hound's Harry does 3 bleed damage per turn, which means 12 damage in 1 round. The Plague Doctor should also be able to get 2 targets for 6 points per segment. In 1 turn, we should be able to get about 24 damage from dot abilities alone. This is discarding any physical damage, which means it might be closer to 30 or 35. This leaves us with 1 other individual to either do damage or support the rest of the party. I prefer to bring along Leper or Hellion, just in case that heart appears in the first 2 rows and you get a massive 30 or 40 damage in there to really speed along this fight. A Hellion can also assist on the bleed damage. By the 2nd round, if all the abilities work and no one gets stunned, the dot damage can be to about 48 damage per turn, and the Flesh only sits at 204. Meaning about in 4 or 5 rounds, this thing's gonna die. Now, what can go wrong? The Flesh has 4 turns, and its turns can all be very heavy damage dealing depending on the parts that are currently out. If there's a crit that comes your way, you can be put on the back foot quickly. And you're also going to have to keep a lot of your supplies from the main dungeon if you want to be healing these blights and bleeds. A possible way around this is using holy water before you enter the dungeon to reduce those stuns, bleeds, and blights. The end of the fight can seem scary, but once you build about 9 to 12 dot damage on every single segment, the heart cannot sustain that DOT damage and eventually you'll win. But this doesn't mean that in between there a party member may die. Thank you, check out my other guides, and like and subscribe below.